Homeschooling has been gaining popularity since the late 1980s. While a good majority of homeschoolers have chosen to replicate a school-at-home method in their homes, many homeschool parents are now following the advice of educator John Holt, and instead of replicating that school-at-home method, are choosing to follow their child's interest and allow them to learn in a more natural and organic way. Based on my research about unschooling and my experience as an unschooling parent, I will present information about how child-directed methods can be incorporated into a homeschooler's everyday activities. In his quest to reform public and private education, educator John Holt became disenchanted with traditional and even progressive methods of education and began advocating what he called unschooling. During the minutes that follow, I will review the methods that Holt encouraged and explain first of all the theories of an unschooling parent, how child-directed methods can be incorporated in a homeschool environment, and we'll compare the pros and cons of the unschooling movement. According to the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, approximately 1.5 million students were homeschooled in the year 2009. Many homeschooling parents chose to homeschool because of religious reasons. They did not want their children exposed to the secular environment of the public school. Many parents, however, chose to homeschool because they feel the public school system is broken, that they can do a better job educating their children by allowing children to explore their own interests rather than following the wants of a pre-planned curriculum. Even as an educator in the private arena, John Holt advocated listening to children and understanding their needs rather than the pre-established curriculum. His first book was 1964's How Children Fell. This book emphasized establishing a relationship with children in order to teach them. One of his later books, Teach Your Own, encouraged parents to remove their children from the public school system and to educate them in a way that did not resemble a classroom at all. Many homeschool parents today are turning to John Holt's methods in the education of their children. I'm going to read an excerpt from The Unprocessed Child, Living Without School by Valerie Fitzenreiter, who is an unschooling parent. The majority of children in school will fail. They will fail to develop to the potential that they were born with and the desire to learn that they possess during the first 2 to 3 years of their lives. They are born with an enormous capacity for learning, understanding, and creating, but they lose these qualities when they enter school. Why do they fail? John Holt says in his book, How Children Fell, that children fell because they are afraid, bored, and confused. All too often, we expect children to learn on our timetable instead of their own. A good way to begin incorporating unschooling into an everyday homeschooling environment is by simply allowing children choices. I can say that when we first began unschooling, my sons were little, and I can say that they learned their colors, they learned their numbers, they learned how to count, how to add, how to subtract, by simply playing with Thomas trains. That was their interest. Many children may have an interest in astronomy and may learn science through studying the planets. I know my 5-year-old son has a huge interest in pets, so he learns a lot simply by taking care of his pets. One of the biggest questions and criticisms of unschooling comes in the form of, what about learning gaps? What if there's a child that doesn't want to learn to read? What if there's a child that doesn't want to learn to add or subtract? These are necessary for everyday life. What if there's a child that doesn't want to take algebra in order to get into college? How will they ever get a good job? To answer those questions, unschooling parents are quick to point out that we do not have to use traditional methods for children to learn these. Maybe a child will learn to read by reading a comic book. Maybe they'll learn to add or subtract by doing art and adding things or building a replica of the Eiffel Tower. Everyone learns in a different way, and that's what the unschooling philosophy is really about. Keeping the pros and cons of unschooling in mind, we can see that unschooling is a growing trend in the homeschooling movement, whether that be for better or for worse. Many parents have opted to follow John Holt's model of education for their children. While many worry that unschooled children will not be prepared for the future, unschooling parents feel a special call to allow their children the freedom to learn in their own way, in their own time, and by choosing their own curriculum or lack thereof. Time will tell whether unschooled children will be a success in life or where they will end up. However, unschooling parents are quick to point out that the method of unschooling does allow initiative for success in life.